Hi guys, welcome back to a Mix It Up Monday. Today I am going to be using this inspiration piece and taking the browns from the inspiration piece to make my little traveler's notebook. So here I am showing you that on Pinterest you can find all kinds of tutorials and things on traveler's notebooks. Traveler's notebooks seem to be very hot right now and on trend. So I just recently received a new traveler's notebook, so I thought it'd be fun to do a little video showing you how to make an insert for a traveler's notebook. So as you can see here, I'm just scrolling through Pinterest to kind of show you all the different things that you can make for your traveler's notebook. You can buy the items on Etsy, but I think it's kind of fun to also create your own because then you can customize it to the way you like it to look, and I think that's always something that's nice. So the video today is a little bit longer than a normal video, but because I am doing a real-time tutorial, it does take just a little bit longer, but I hope you guys enjoy this and you get something out of it. And if you are into the traveler's notebooks and are excited about this new trend, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Please also join us over on our Facebook page, and you can also start a conversation over there about traveler's notebooks if you guys are interested. So thank you guys so much and stay tuned for the tutorial. Hi guys, today I wanted to share with you how to make a traveler's notebook insert. I just got my new traveler's notebook. This is from Chic Sparrow and it is the Mr. Darcy in Toffee, I believe is the name of the color. So it is a personal size notebook. Excuse me, a personal size notebook, and when you open it up I have two inserts already from Chic Sparrow. One is this dot grid and one is blank. And so this is a really nice notebook, but I literally just got it a couple days ago. And I wanted to make a couple of my own inserts that to fit in the notebook as well. So I thought while I needed to make those, I would also share with you how I was going to put those together. So that's what today's video is going to be about, is making some inserts for a personal size notebook. Now you can use the same idea for any size notebook. This just happens to be a personal, so the dimensions I'm going to give you will fit in this Mr. Darcy personal size notebook. So what you want to do is you want to pick out your paper, and I wanted to use this grid pattern, but you can use any kind of paper you want. You can put sketch paper in, you can mix it up and put different kinds of paper in, so you can put like vellum and sketch paper and graph paper and different things. You can put plain printer paper in, you can put mixed media paper in, just kind of depending on how you're going to use your notebook will determine what kind of paper you want to use. So I just happen to have this grid paper in my stash, and I thought I wanted to use this. I like the grid paper. I prefer dot, but since I had the grid paper, I thought this would work just fine. So what I'm going to do is take this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet that came on a paper pad, and I'm going to cut this down to 6.5 by 8.5. And ultimately it's going to end up only being 7.25 wide. However, because I want to cut off the ends when I'm done, I want to have a nice straight edge, I'm going to cut it first at 8.5 and then trim it all down once I fold the book together. So I am going to finish cutting this down, and like I said, I'm going to cut it at 6.5. Make sure you guys are in focus. Yep. So I'm going to cut this down to 6.5. And I have just a couple of sheets here. My whole book is going to be 10 sheets of paper, which will ultimately make 20 pages. So I'm going to cut this down to 6.5. And then I'm going to cut it the long way to 8.5 for right now. All right. And then I already had some other pieces cut previously, so I'm just going to add that to my stack. And so now I have 10 pieces of paper, and they aren't quite cut exactly right, but you know, I kind of like the handmade look of this. I'm okay with them being just a little bit off. And like I said, once we fold this in half, it ends up taking it and kind of making this kind of waterfall look. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that from their angle. Let me see if I can get a little closer and focus it. So you can see here when you fold the notebook, it ends up making it kind of like this waterfall. And what I'm going to end up doing is trimming it off so it's all a flat, nice flat edge and not have this kind of waterfall look. So I am now going to put this to the side, and then I want to cut my cover. And, you know, again, the cover can be anything you want it to be. It can be plain, what is this, like a craft paper. This is kind of like a craft paper. You can make it plain like this. You can use pattern paper. You can do anything you really want. I mean, again, this is your notebook. You can make it and design it any way you would like to make it to fit what you like. So I was actually contemplating whether I want to use this paper here, and the reason I like this paper is it's double-sided, so when I fold it in half, I have this on the outside or inside, and then this is the opposite. But I really, really like this paper too. Both of these are from Stampin' Up, and I believe they're retired now. They're no longer available, I don't think. But you could check on the Stampin' Up website. But I really like this paper, but I absolutely love this paper. And let me see if I can get it. Oh, you can probably see it from where you guys are. It has this kind of resist on it, and it has this beautiful floral pattern. And I absolutely love this. And because my inserts that I have in the Traveler's Notebook right now are the craft color, I'm really kind of leaning towards this. And I'm kind of thinking about possibly lining the notebook with this paper. I'm just not quite sure. So I'm going to kind of play it by ear. But what I want to do now is I want to trim this down with the same approximate dimensions as the graph paper. So that's 6.5 by 8.5. So I am going to end up using this for now. And let me pull my arm of my trimmer out. And sorry if you see this big stamp on my arm. I went to a vintage market today and they stamped us. So I have this big blurby, almost like tattoo looking thing on my arm. I will be rinsing that off when I take a shower tonight. But for now it's staying. So let's see. I'm going to do, what did I say? I'm sorry, 6.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to trim this. And really on this paper, it doesn't matter which direction. So if you do have a paper that has a certain direction to it, you want to make sure you're cutting it the right way so when you fold the book, it won't be like upside down or anything like that. So I'm going to do 6.5 by 8.5. All right. And so there I have that piece. And then these pieces will stack in nicely, so they should all fit together. So now they're all the same size, you can see. And you can have a couple options now about how to bind this. I've seen some people just fold it in half and then stick it in the rubber bands of their Traveler's Notebook. So this is where you put the notebooks in the rubber band. I've also seen people use staples. These inserts here from Chic Sparrow are stapled. So they have the staples in that, and in the back of the staples. So for this technique, you either need a long reach stapler, or you can like staple into an eraser and then flip it over and then put the prongs down. So you have a couple options with putting the inserts in. The last option that I think I am going to try is to sew the inserts. The staples and things with the rubber bands of your elastic of your notebook can kind of get caught and stuff, and I don't really necessarily like the look of the staples. So I am going to actually try to sew my insert. So what you want to do is you want to find the center of your insert. And so I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler here to find my center. And so like I said, this is 8.5, so that would be 4.25 would be where my center is. So I'm just going to put a light mark there, and then come here, 4.25. It's kind of convenient because it's right there on that grid line approximately. So 4.25. So I am going to sew right on this grid line. So I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on camera, but that's the center of the notebook. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So I am going to take this, and this is just an old mouse pad. I'm just flipping it over, and I'm going to make sure everything's lined up really nice. And I am going to poke 3 holes. And let me see, hopefully, I'm going to move my camera down. I'll be right back so you guys can get a little bit closer. Okay, I am back, and this is a little bit closer up, so hopefully you guys can see this okay. So what I am going to do is I am going to take this kind of thick needle. It has quite a large eye in it. Let me see if I can get that focused. Because what I'm going to end up doing is using this twine to bind the book. You have a couple options here too. You don't want to use something that's really thin, like thin thread. You do have to have something that's somewhat substantial to sew this in. And I thought this twine would work. It's pretty. It matches the craft color of the notebook, so I thought it went well. So I'm going to try to use this. I think I've seen some people use embroidery floss. You can also use like a waxed floss, and there's definitely bookbinding. If you want to do a more professional look, there's a bookbinding thread or string that is specifically for this technique, but I didn't have any of that, so I'm just going to use my good old twine that I have here. And like I said, you want to make sure it's nice and stacked very nicely. And I have this grid here, so I'm going to kind of use this to my advantage, so I can kind of find where the center is. And let's see here. So the center of my notebook, if it is 6.5, that is going to be 3.25. So approximately right here is the center, so you want to put one hole in the center, and actually I am going to punch my holes, oops, I kind of got this off, my holes with my Tim Holtz pokey tool to get a really nice hole, and then I will then sew it with my, my needle. So that's hole number 1, and then that went all the way through, if you guys can see that right there. I'm going to make sure that is nice and wide so that my needle and everything goes through. And then I am going to put another one approximately, let's see, like right here, about 2 squares up. If you wanted to use like different kinds of paper inside here, like putting vellum or sewing tags in the book, you can do all kinds of great things with this, but I'm kind of keeping it simple today. And I am just going to take probably way more twine than I need, because I'd rather have more than not enough. And I'm going to, like I said, just pull some off. I have obviously enough twine here to last me quite some time, probably my entire lifetime. And I am going to, hopefully on camera, thread this in. Oh great, this hole is perfect. So I'm going to thread this through, and you just want to leave a little bit of a tail, and you're going to start in the middle of the book, and you're going to start here. You're going to come out the back side, pull, you probably have to work it a little bit to get that twine through. And the key is you don't want to pull this all the way through. So you want to leave some twine here in the inside of the book, because you're going to end up tying this. So now you're going to take this and put it through the top hole. And let's see if I can get this all lined up. So there. I'm going to finagle this a bit to get it through with all the extra twine on that side. Then you're going to pull it till it's taut. You want to make sure it is taut, because you don't want to have a bunch of loosey-goosey twine. So if you can see the back, it is, I'll make this a little bit tighter, but that's what it looks like on the back. So again, I'm just going to make sure it's tight. It is starting to pull on this thread, so I know it is tight. And then what I'm going to end up doing is then tying this in the center. Now, if you did it the opposite way, you would end up at the back of the book. You could do that too. I don't really think it matters too much. It just kind of depends on what you want. And so now I'm just going to tie this here. And I want to tie it real close to where this center hole is. And this would be a good time to have like 5 other hands so that you could tie this and get it really tight without having any loosey-goosey stuff. Let's see if I can get it good. All right, I think I did a pretty good job. And then I'm going to probably put 2 knots just to be on the safe side. And then tighten it. And then I definitely had way more string than I needed, but that's, again, okay. I'm just going to trim this off. All right. So that is that. So hopefully you guys can see that okay. And so I just have the little tie, the knot in the middle, and then I have the 2 strings here and then the back. So it's a really nice color, and I like how this really looks with this craft cardstock. So now what I want to do is I'm going to fold this in half, and you want to just fold it as nice as possible, and you can kind of use, obviously, the string as a guide. And I have a little overhang here, but I can trim that off when I'm done. So I'm going to fold that in half. So just use the bone folder, which is probably what is the better idea, or like the back of a scissors or something like that. Just something that you can really, really get this crease down, and so you have a nice, nice crease in the notebook. Excuse me. Sorry, I have a little bit of a froggy in my throat today. Okay, and see, I don't know if you can tell, you have a little bit of this overhang, and I'm going to fix that right now. So that is what I am going to do. And I'm trying to think, I think probably the best way to do this is going to be with a craft knife as opposed to like a trimmer. My trimmer, I have a heavy duty rotary trimmer, but I think this might be just a little bit too thick for that. So what I am going to do is I am going to move the camera back up real quick and I will be right back. Okay, so now I am ready to trim this book down, and I am going to use my Tim Holtz ruler to do the trimming, and I would highly recommend that you use a cork back, like metal ruler. That will keep it from slipping on your project, but I do have one, but I'm not quite sure where it is, unfortunately. So I am going to be very, very careful and try to use this ruler. This Tim Holtz ruler does have a metal edge, so that is good with using the X-Acto knife. But it is a little bit more slippery, so I'm going to have to be very careful when I cut not to move the ruler as I'm cutting. So hopefully, wish me luck, cross your fingers, I'll be okay. But so now what we want to do is this is going to be 3 3/4 is what we want to trim this book down to. So that's right here. And when I originally cut the entire book out, like I said earlier, I cut it to 8 1/2, and that is so I can trim it off and not have this edge, this waterfall kind of edge on it. And so now I'm just going to measure at 3 3/4 to cut off that excess. I think that should be good right there. And I like this Tim Holtz ruler because it has all the grid on it, and so you can make sure it's lined up and it's straight both directions. So I'm just making the metal edge so that it meets here. And, you know, this isn't an exact science. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Sorry if my head is in the way. But you do want to have it nice and flush, or at least straight as possible, so you don't have a Cricut notebook. So now I am going to trim down the entire notebook. And this will probably take you several strokes, but just be patient and take it easy. Make sure you have a very sharp knife on your X-Acto blade, and that will really help cut this one faster and much more nice. It won't have a feather edge. Okay, so now my entire book is trimmed down. So that is all my little extra scraps I have left over from that. And so now I have a really nice, let's see if you guys can see that, straight edge. So now it's very, very nice and clean, and it doesn't have that waterfall look. And I think what I'm going to try to do is trim this side down just a tad because it is hanging over, and that is going to bug me. Move all that out of the way, and now I have a nice clean edge, and you can see here I have a little notebook. So it is perfect. And now what you can decide to do is you can keep this squared off, or you can use, let's see, what's this called, a corner chomper. Oh my gosh, I'm losing stuff, things thrown on the ground. You can use a corner chomper and then chomp it and make rounded corners. So it's kind of up to you how you want to handle it. These in my insert right now, or my Traveler's Notebook now, are not rounded. And trying to decide, decisions, to round or not to round. I don't know. I think I'm going to keep it like this, but like I said, there is an option that you can use a corner chomper and chomp those corners. And you would want to use something like this Crocodile one because it's going to tolerate the thickness of your book. So that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully you will check out our Facebook page. And if you have any questions about anything, please put them in the comment section below. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have not already subscribed to the Crafty Maven, we would love to have you as a subscriber so you can catch all of the great layouts and projects that we do on the channel. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that too. And I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed this little mini book project and you have a great day. Bye-bye.